So welcome to my new lecture series on full stack web development. In this series, we're going to learn from very basic web page design to sophisticated complex web page design for not only front end, also for the back end. And also we learn how to connect our application to the database server. For the front end, we're going to learn different libraries like React, jQuery, etc. And for the back end, we're going to learn different back-end languages like Node.js, Python, Java, etc. Full stack web development actually refers to the knowledge of developing an application using every language possible in the programming language realm. So in this world of programming language, we can implement anything to develop our web application. Suppose for the front end, we can have HTML, JavaScript. If I use very basic web designing, we can also use different types of frameworks. We can use different types of libraries, and we know that if I talk about framework, there's no end of the frameworks. There are plenty of frameworks available. If I talk about libraries, so there's no end of libraries. Plenty of different categories of libraries are available. So we can use any framework, any libraries to build our front side applications. Now for the backend, similarly we have different types of languages, and in different scenario we can use it. So full stack actually covers everything, every languages. So for any lecture series, it is not possible to include everything. So we will try to include as much as possible to give the users or viewers the full idea of development of the web application. So when we talk about application, especially web application, so we need to understand what is web application. So if I consider a very fundamental idea of the web application development, then it is nothing but a server that providing the services to any client. Now how the server is providing the services to the client? It's basically web application, and web application consists of web pages, and not only web pages, different types of other codings also to support these web pages. So when client request for, and so it consists of client side coding, that is the web page code related to web pages, and also server side coding when the server side coding is needed, when the client side is interacting with the interfaces, it may generate further requests on data also. So you need to address those things. So to do that, you need to have some coding also. So we call it server side coding. So this interaction not only to process it further, it can be connection to the other server like database server also. So if I try to view diagrammatically what the application is, nothing but a client. Our client is a browser only. Now when the client requests for a particular page, maybe the index page, the server will respond by providing the web page to the client. Now when the page is loaded to the client, that is in the browser, then any user can process it and can generate further requests. So further request again will go to the server. Now this request, if it consists of data connection, then the web server is also connecting the request or forwarding the request to the database server also. So when the request reaches to the data server, it also processes it, and the response then fed back to the server, web server. and web server consequently send the response to the client. So this is the basic interaction in the web application environment. So the main interaction interface is the client interface. Using that interface only we can interact with the server, maybe the web server or database server. So if I try to categorize what is in there in the interface, then it is basically nothing but a content and formatting. What is the content? So when you want to create some web page, then you have to provide the content also, some text, some images, so you have to add it. So that can be done using some languages that we call it HTML, in full form hypertext markup language. So all the hypertext are used to mark up the content of the web page. And if I want to use advanced content, then we can use different types of scripting like JavaScript, JScript. We can also use the libraries that is main consist of JavaScript only. So jQuery, React, this kind of libraries are available for front-end design. We can also use a framework like Angular. So all these are the variation of JavaScript. If I want to use JavaScript directly, it is very difficult to create a content. So to give us some flexibility for developing any content, there are different types of libraries available. These libraries are helping us to create our content very fast in very short time. Okay. Now when you develop the content, we want also to look it better, look it very attractive. So that kind of formatting we can do with CSS or different version of CSS. So that is all about client interface. And what is happening in the web server? It is nothing but a place where we can store web pages, server side coding, different other informations also. So when client request for the page, normally the index page, and it is loaded into the web server. So sometimes this coding server side scripting, nothing but a language we can use to interpret the different requests coming from the client side. So with the help of interface we are loading the content, and further request we can generate using the interface. So when further request is coming to the server needs to process it. This processing can be done different types of scripting languages. So to name a few, we have Node.js, Python, PHP, Java, etc. We can also use C++. There's some way we can use it. So how we can build a content whenever we need it? We need only a notepad, and to execute it we need a browser. It may be Chrome, it may be Mozilla Firefox, anything. And to create a content you need to know the basic syntax knowledge of the HTML. That is how we can create the file, what types of elements we can add. This detail you have to know before you create the content. Okay, for this lecture that's all. Next video lecture we will discuss about different types of content we can build with the help of HTML, and also different types of elements that is possible to create the content for the web page. Thank you for this.